Good evening, everyone. My name's Elizabeth. I'm a grateful, recovering, compulsive overeater, and I weigh and measure 3 meals a day from the gray sheet. I write them down, call them into my sponsor, um, don't eat in between no matter what. And abstinence is the most important thing in my life today. And the way that I make abstinence the most important thing is that I take care of my food first. And I go to a meeting every day and I call 3 people a day because I need connection. I need the reinforcement of this community. I need to hear other people that are doing what I do and do it no matter what. I really need the no matter what message. Um, I probably became a compulsive eater in the womb. My mother had gestational diabetes and I was a 10-pound baby. And then, it was just off from there. Um, I was the youngest of five. Um, and I think now I have issues with like feeling rushed and hurried or never feeling like I'm behind, or like I don't know, what I should know or something. Like everybody else knows what I should be doing, but I don't. Um, because we traveled a lot and I spent my first few years, I was born overseas and had my first few years overseas. And so we did a lot of traveling. We did, it was just kind of go, go, go. And I think that was just kind of chaotic for my poor little brain. But it was also a rich and interesting life. And I'm thankful for that. We came back to the States when I was, close to five. But before I don't know, my mom used to tell me that when we lived in France, that there was Madame who lived upstairs and she would always offer me a little treat. And so I could run up the stairs at the age of 3 or 4 whenever I wanted and go get, I would just knock on her door and say in French, I would ask for this treat and she thought it was so cute and she would always give me one. So, wow, talk about great reward system, right? Um, I don't know. When I was young, we had very little structure in the house. I had free access and the cupboards tended to be filled with carbohydrates. We were kind of house poor, so we had from when we lived in Europe, we had collected tons of antiques and beautiful things, and we had this big house full of these beautiful things. But my dad really had a hard time working for others, and he kind of had some great success in direct marketing, and then everything crashed, and then it was always a struggle. So we were always selling antiques to make ends meet. But anyway, our cupboards were filled with carbohydrates, and I had free access to them anytime. And that was just if I wasn't specifically, doing something, I would just go through the kitchen. And that was always the thing that I would do when between other tasks or whatever, because there wasn't anybody that was guiding me. I remember somewhere along the way, there was a buffet out, and I might have been a teenager at that point. And if the sweet thing on the buffet, as long as it was there, I had no defense against it. I didn't have that terminology, but as long as it was there, I had to go back for more. And I just remember thinking, I just have absolutely no ability to not eat that thing if it's out. Um, there was so many times when I had shame, being caught in the dish room of the place where the restaurant where I worked, where they serve big round things, and, eating off of other people's plates, whatever. Eat, at work as a 40-something-year-old, going back into the garbage and being caught, for a carb that I had intended not to eat, and, went back for it.
Excuse me, 5 minutes past.
Thank you. So, it's, you all get it, right? I mean, a great deal of shame, a great deal of powerlessness. And so my mom took me to my first OA meeting. Oh, there was a lot of focus on health and natural foods, whole foods. And my mom drank brewer's yeast 3 times. I'm sorry if it's not okay to mention that. I'm sorry, but she drank that 3 times a day so that she could nurse me, because she couldn't nurse my older brothers and sisters, and she wanted so badly to be able to. And so she, but that was just like, it was all about the health food and the, so there were vitamins, and so the carbs tended to be whole carbs. But anyway, so my point on that was that, we would fast for weight loss. And my mom did the liquid protein fasts and things like that. And so I would do kind of that dieting stuff with her. But so I didn't do a lot of diets, like, like the weigh and pay type stuff. I did do a couple in my young adulthood, but trying to be thin for my husband, who didn't like fat girls, but he married a fat girl, so that was interesting. But so, my attempts to manage my weight loss were cleanses, fasting, these kinds of things, more than the corporate stuff. But I first was taken by my mother to an OA meeting as a teen. Well, I was also, along with being compulsive about my eating, I was also a thief. And I, from the time when I stole, something from the bulk bins as like a 5-year-old, and hiding it in my panties, with my little neighbor friend that was a year younger than me, and not getting caught. I never got caught with that stuff. But if I was babysitting and there was money, I would steal it. If there was, never mind cleaning out the cupboards. If there weren't carbs, I would eat the crunchy things that people put on salads. I mean, like anything I could get my hand on. So I was taken to OA as a teenager, and because I was such a thief, I was like, I heard those 12 steps and I was like, okay, well, this sounds like the right place to be when I'm ready, but I'm not ready. I was not ready to come clean on, I heard all about that 4th step, 5th step, those steps 4 through 9. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's not happening right now. So when I was out of the house, I did go to my first OA meeting on my own. Probably I was 19 at that time. Got abstinent for the first time. There was a lot of chaos around it, lying. I moved back to Seattle. I had been in the Bay Area at that time when I went to my first meeting. You know, it took me, like probably 14 years or something from that to go to find a gray sheet meeting. And so I did Gray Sheet for 1.5 years, and that was the only time when I had any length of abstinence, when I lost all of my weight or most of it, but then promptly thought I was fixed, and, picked up again and thought I needed a different food plan. So, 30 years later, I I did OA for many, many years, in and out, um, mostly in, and I liked the structured programs. I had loved all the structure of Gray Sheet. Um, I had, resistance over, some things, the way things were done. But really, when I came back after a break from OA, and this was about 7 years ago now, and found another OA structured plan, um, I, um, you know, got abstinent, and I would get 90 days and then I'd break. Thank you. Um, I'd get 90 days and then I'd break. I'd just crash and burn. And, then I did another, after 5 years of that, I was like, okay, this isn't working again. I would get it, but all I heard in the meetings was, I don't know. I heard a pretty strong message in that last OA program, but it still wasn't no matter what, not the strength of no matter what that I need, and probably not the food plan that I need. You know, my um my body seems to be an engine that doesn't do well on carbohydrates. It seems to gum up the system, and so for me, clean burning fuel for my body are the foods on the Gray Sheet. And I guess after, the 40, plus years that I've been around these programs, I finally figured that out. It doesn't take long. But I think that during that whole time too, I still thought that I could manage it. I still thought that there was some program that, um I don't know, some psychological something, some spiritual understanding. I don't know. I thought that I I thought I could manage it, or some I don't know what I thought, but I always picked up. So that tells me that I didn't really believe that I was completely powerless. Um, so um, prayed a lot, cried out desperately, and um, finally, just a few months ago, I mean, it was what, 95, 97 days ago, I thought, Gray Sheet, ding, it was, but it wasn't just a ding. The lights came on fully, and it was like Gray Sheet. And that was the first time I really saw, in retrospect, this was the only program that arrested this disease for me. That was the only time when I had any length of abstinence. That was the only time when, I had the support that I needed, the message that I needed, the food that I needed. And so, thank you, HP, for dropping that on me. And came to a meeting, got the most fabulous sponsor in the world, and am here, so grateful to have 90 days. And it's because of this community. It's because you were here when, you know, when I looked it up. And so I need you all. I really need you. And I need this program.
1 more minute.
And thank you. I'm completely satisfied that there's no other place where I can get what I need than these rooms. So I'm just grateful to have found it before I lost, a limb from diabetes, or, had a stroke, or, from high blood pressure or whatever. So it's a life or death matter for me. And I try to work my program as if it's a life or death matter, because I don't believe I have another recovery in me. I've never said that before, but yeah. I I don't know. I can't do the back and forth anymore. I don't have it in me. So with that, I'll pass. Thank you all so much.